Today, I'm going to show you guys 3 quick and easy tools you can use to run better RPG sessions. You can use these tools with whatever game system you want as long as it's in a fantasy setting. So D&D, Pathfinder, Dungeon World, whatever, it all works. The first tool is Whatabout's one-page dungeon generator. Now, I've been using this ever since I started DMing 2 years ago, and it's honestly a phenomenal tool for creating a quick dungeon map on the fly. Now, I know in the past I recommended using Donjon to create random dungeons, and Donjon's still a great tool. My problem with Donjon is that it's a little bloated. Most of the dungeons that Donjon creates are just absolutely massive mega dungeons, and if you're looking for something small to throw your players into that's going to take 1, maybe 2 sessions, Whatabout's generator does a way better job at doing that. It's also stupid easy to use. You just go to the web page and it automatically generates a dungeon for you. If you're not satisfied with that, you can just press enter and it'll create a new dungeon for you. In terms of the content, you don't really have that much control over it. You can adjust the water level in the dungeon and you can have it re-roll the random notes of the random encounters in the dungeon. But other than that, it is pretty much totally random. In the future, I'd like to see maybe a little bit more control over it, but honestly, I don't really mind that much currently as it produces really good results. Tool number 2, which I actually discovered like a week ago from Questing Beast newsletter, Dungeon, without any vowels. Dungeon is a super cool tool that really solves a problem that I have when making dungeons, which is making them interesting. I don't know about you, but whenever I craft a dungeon, for the most part, it's pretty much just a bunch of rooms with some monsters in it. Now, I've watched plenty of guides on how to make interesting dungeons, and for some reason, something just doesn't click in my head. However, when I brought up dungeon with no vowels, it really made things make sense to me. It's just a stupidly simple tool. All it really does is tell you key facts about your dungeon to make it more interesting. It'll give you a random dungeon name. It'll give you the status of that dungeon, whether or not it's active, inactive, forgotten, whatever. It provides you with an imminent danger to your dungeon, which I really like. I often struggle to provide any sort of urgency for my players. What Dungeon does is it tells you, hey, maybe this dungeon's sinking, or maybe it's opening portals to an eldritch realm, and if you don't clear it quick enough, you'll get sucked into Cthulhu land or whatever. It's super cool. It also tells you what dwells there, so like a tribe of orcs, or like a haunted family. Master Bruce! It also gives you a sort of quest as to why you're even at the dungeon. Now, that's not something that really matters to me because I can usually come up with that on my own, but if you're thinking of something on the fly or if you're in the middle of the session, I think it's pretty cool. It tells you what the entrance of the dungeon is like, it tells you who's guarding the dungeon, and it even gives your dungeon like a distinctive feature. So for example, all the inanimate objects actually spring to life and attack you, like some really dark, macabre Beauty and the Beast situation. And if that wasn't enough, it gives you 4 rooms and describes what's in the room for you. Like I said, I just discovered this one and I can't wait to use it with my players. I think it's going to be a really cool tool to help me build way better dungeons, way more exciting dungeons, and way more fun dungeons, and I think it'll do that for you too. So now that we have our dungeon map and what populates it, we need to figure out a way to get there. And Duncan over at Chaos Gen has made a great tool for that. Specifically, his D&D and Pathfinder encounter generators. Now, I know I said these are system agnostic, and you can honestly use these for any system. They are, of course, geared a little bit more towards D&D and Pathfinder because it uses your character level to provide appropriate monsters, but it's so much more than that. Oftentimes, when I try to make my own random encounters, because I suck as a GM, I'll just throw like random monsters and be like, the goblins attack you for whatever reason. But what Duncan has done is provided reasons as to why that encounter is happening. Every encounter the generator provides you gives you a creature or monster that you encounter, where you encounter them, why they're there and what they're doing, and some other possible interesting aspect of that. So for example, it'll give you that you find an orc on a hill who's wounded and looking for a mate. Or maybe you run into a kobold dragon mage who's at a well guarding something, and that something's the magical items that they possess. And the D&D encounter table works just the same way. Of course, those aren't the only tools that Duncan's put on his Chaos Gen website. There's a lot of really cool stuff there that I discovered when doing the research for this video. So I highly recommend checking it out and exploring a little because he puts out some really good stuff. But if you're watching this video right before you need to prep a D&D, Pathfinder, whatever session, check out this video right here for some tips on how to prep a better one.